Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Case of the Mondays. So we promised a special guest this episode, and we brought a special guest this episode. We have TK, aka Taylor Kinsey, my childhood best friend.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Yes.
From Lee Summit. Woo!
Woo! I know. I need like a full like Ric Flair like announcer vibe, right? Like from Lee Summit, Missouri. You know, that's what we need. But it's okay because we have us. So
just us.
It's just us. No, Taylor has been my best friend since we were, probably like 11 or 12 years old. And we lived in the same neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And she's been that friend of mine that, you know, we've known each other so long. So we have phases of life where, you know, we see each other a lot and phases where we don't see each other a lot, but we always pick up where we left off. And so, you know, and she's also just happens to be one of the funniest people I've ever met in my entire life. So I hope you guys enjoy her as much as we do.
Before we get into it, disclaimer, we had some audio issues like halfway through. So it gets a little funky in like the middle.
But we're going to laugh about it.
We're learning how to do this. So bear with us. I hope you guys enjoy.
Enjoy. So without further ado, here's our interview with TK. Our special guest, actually, well, it hasn't been released yet. Taylor didn't even hear our episode we recorded yesterday, but we really hyped you up. And we were like, we have a super secret guest coming on.
Jordan even said, she said your name and she's like, wait, can you edit that out? Like, it has to be a secret. So no one knows. Not even you.
It's going to be so disappointing when people find out that that's it. They're going to think it was someone way cooler.
But we were laughing because we were like, I mean, the 50 people that listen probably know you personally. So it's like, you know.
I think it's just hard because like, I'm nervous about like the way I vulgarly describe some of these stories. Like, I don't.
But that's the point. It's okay.
Yeah. No,
it's okay.
It's gonna be ham. It's gonna be awesome. Let's do this.
It's gonna be so good. Let's do this. All right. So Taylor is my very best childhood friend, and she's also the funniest person I've ever met in my entire life. So when it came to our first guest on the show, I was like, Taylor has to come on. This is it. So
I'm
Taylor,
honored.
are you excited? Are you excited to be here?
I'm honored. I just don't want to disappoint the fans, like being the first guest. You know, there's a lot of expectations, but I got my work story prepared, and I'm ready to share it with the world, honestly.
It's time. Let's do it.
It's time. Has this been a burden on you up until now? And we're finally giving you a platform?
No, it's just funny that like I'm having to revisit the moments, and like it's already messed up in the beginning, like while you're going through it. And then like you kind of look back as an adult and you're like, damn, I was dumb. Or like, Jesus, like why didn't I have a GoPro attached to me at all times so I could just like prove that this stuff did happen? Jordan and I had a lot of jobs, and our dads were always like, go get a job. And so we lived by the shopping center that all of the jobs that Jordan and I held, like she mentioned the one about like Subway, like the Jason's Deli was 5 steps away from that. So like I would hop from different places of work within that shopping center, like Sports Clips.
It's like, that one sucks. Can I go to the next one?
Yeah. I even applied at Subway and they didn't accept me. So
you didn't make the cut.
No, I didn't.
The cold cut. She didn't make the cold cut for Subway.
I didn't.
It's burned, dude.
They didn't even look at my application. Damn. Like
they just said no.
Yeah. They were like, Jesus, how many times has she applied at this shopping center area?
Well, and it's so funny to think about because I mean, we've known each other since we were like 11, 12, maybe. So we had those preteen years together of just like doing weird, goofy, like playing pranks and stuff. And then we got to live like our high school years of working those like first couple of jobs together, you know, like the very irresponsible like phase where,
and not only irresponsible, but like also like incapable of actually having that job. Like we couldn't get to and from without our parents. Like we were 15. We didn't even have our driver's license with these jobs. Like we were like, all right, Mom, I got to go to Sports Clips. Like,
that's right. You worked at Sports Clips. That's right. Yeah. Was that job number one, or was Jason's Deli job number one?
sports clubs was actually number one. I held that job for a really long time for my age. It was like a year or something. And then
that's like an eternity for a 15-year-old.
For sure. And so it doesn't have quite the story that Jason Zelli does, but I didn't even put in my 2 weeks there. I just didn't show up. Like there's just too much. I would have like pubes all over me from just like the day on end.
Pubes?
And yeah, like just men's hair.
Oh, like ew. I can imagine it just blowing around up in there, like just like.
I was just like in charge of the hair, making sure it was swept up and
like you're the hair cleaner. Ew.
Yeah. And then like I was checking men in and they would be like, do you have my notes from last time? Like number 3 on the sides, number 2 on top. And I just like,
dude, I'm 15. Like, I'm just trying to like check you in and out, like at this point. So.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know what type of massage towel you need. Like, can you just make your decisions for yourself and remember? Because I
just tell your stylist, like, not my problem.
That's the thing. Our stylists would quit a lot. So none of them, the same people who kept coming in would be like, is Mandy here? And I'd be like, actually, Mandy had a baby or had to go back to Raytown or something. I don't know.
To Raytown.
I don't know. Jason Zelli's story. Let's get it.
So let's do it. Let's dive into it. So Jason's Deli.
Yeah. Well, Jordan also simultaneously worked there as well. And was this before or after you worked at Jason's Deli, Jordan?
No, I was working there and I was like, Taylor, you should come work with me. This would be so fun. And it turned out to not be very fun. So,
well, like back then I was like really so like, just, I don't know. We were really adolescent and like, I was all trying to be about like finding a cool job, like making sure like if my friends came in, like they wouldn't be like, oh,
you were the cool girl at the job. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to be like, okay, like this is me. And instead every job I had was like a men's polo with khakis. And so
it wasn't cool, right?
It wasn't cool. It wasn't fucking cool. And like even the interview, like they interviewed me at Jason's Deli. So Jordan kind of referred me. Well, she did refer me. And I got dropped off for my interview. And I remember I wore like a button down and khakis for the interview. And it was just like, I went into that interview and I just knew it was going to suck dick. Like, I just knew that job was going to suck. Because the first thing.
What did they ask you though? Like, do you remember what they asked?
It was pretty much like, can you remember how to do jobs? And do
you have a good memory? Can you show up on time? Like basics?
Yes. Like what, like, are you going to work weekends? And I was like, no. And they were like, yes. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to suck. And it was like,
right. Cause you're 16 and you're like, F, my weekends are my life. Like, I don't want to work.
Yeah, like I didn't drink or anything, but I was like, God forbid if I miss out on one of my pizza party hangouts with my friends. Like I couldn't do that for Jason. So
Jason, like he was a person.
Yeah, Jason's a sick fuck. Like I can't with Jace. But yeah, let's just get into it. So I'm sitting at the interview and he offers me the job and my dad's riding my ass because I haven't had a job in like 3 weeks at this point because
you quit sports clubs, right? You quit that. And he's like, you need a freaking job, dude. Like go get a job.
And like our dads were always like, if you don't have a job and you're begging me for something, like, doesn't that mean like you need to go do it? And so God bless him. Like I hated him for it at the time because I was like, Dad, this is the lowest tier we can get. Like I could be cleaning up throw up and Jason's Deli would be equivalent to that. And he didn't understand because he's like, well, I had to walk 12 miles in the blistering snow every day uphill. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll just do this job to make you happy.
Okay. So Taylor, you're working at Jason's Deli and you hate it. Well, for a 16-year-old, it's the worst job ever because you're having to show up. And not be
pretty much do the basics and take and like listen to someone basically like tell me what to do, and it just doesn't feel important. And I know that sounds bad because people die for jobs just like any job, but like I don't know, like my mental state, like I was just angsty and like not wanting this. So, and it's just like red flags left and right. Like after the interview, he's like, the first thing you need to do is go buy some fitted ankle length khaki cargo pants to go with our uniform.
Yeah, they were gross. Like they were very specific on like the pockets or something. It was strange, but I know what you're talking about. And the non-slip shoes and like the
so I had the khakis, I had the non-slip shoes. I looked like
a weirdo.
I looked like I looked like not right. And obviously like it was just, and then on top of that, it's like my hair's all fried from straightening it in 7th grade PE that I like have to throw it in a visor, and like it just looks really bad. Like
and the hats were like tan and weird, and like it just wasn't cool, right? At 16, you're like, I look super weird. I just look like a weirdo.
Yeah, it wasn't just not cool. It also like gave me like body dysmorphia because I looked like I was going for my same sex. Like I looked like I was wanting to be with girls and then like simultaneously smelling like deli meats. It got really bad because my job, like the purpose of my job was like I was the first like line like taker. So people would read the menu and then they would come up to me and they would just, throw stuff out. Well, each thing on this menu, it's kind of the big menu. It was all manual order taking. So I'd have the pen and paper and everything was like in code. And so if someone ordered like a grilled cheese, I couldn't just write grilled cheese. It had to be like GRCHZ. And then if there's any type of like specifics, those were other like things that you had to code. Well, I gave up. I couldn't remember all these different letters for tomato or no tomato or lettuce or extra mayonnaise. I just wrote
just
down
like special weird rules that weren't necessary to the job. Like fully get it.
Yep. And so when I just gave up on the like order taking codes, I just started writing the full menu item. And I figured out that was like the biggest downfall to this job was because I committed like Jason's Deli suicide, social suicide in a way.
By writing out the order instead of
the full order. Yeah. Because what happened is I'll pass it to the first, I guess like cook or I don't know, preparer. And none of them spoke English. And they all loved to confuse me and anger me, but also harass me with my orders. And so
because you wrote out grilled cheese instead of grilled cheese.
Yes. And so it was just a conflict because they didn't know how to read American English. And so they went by the codes. And so when I would write down the full order, it sometimes would take me like 10 minutes. And one time Jordan witnessed this. I think she has a picture of it. The line got out the door. I mean, it was far out the door. And I never had felt more flustered in my life because it was like a Sunday church rush. And there were kids screaming at the top of the lungs while someone was trying to order their food. I almost just had a breakdown. I said, enough is enough. I grabbed a cookie and I went and took my break. Yeah. Meanwhile, like me and Jordan, we were close still, but we were also kind of figuring out our own lives. And so she was always really like dedicated and like committed. And I was always like, what the fuck am I doing? What's next? Like, can I get the hell out of here? Like, just never satisfied. I'm on day 3. I actually one of the line cooks called me, what is it called? He was like, you're acting like a bimbo. And I said,
bimbo?
Yeah. And because I couldn't like just keep up with their high intense Jason's Deli pace, I guess. So humiliation at its finest every single day, every order. And imagine like at least like
right, they're like used to it, and you're not like what you don't know the codes and you don't know whatever. So they're like overly like this is a big deal, and it's like really not that big of a deal. Eventually, you're like F it though, right? Like you're like F this job, over it.
Yeah. And so that kind of leads me to the downfall of Jason's Deli. So I lasted 2 weeks in total. I was working a night shift. Jordan was working too, but she kind of had a different job. Like she was a food runner, like she was doing a lot. And I was just like at the front of the line. And I just like, I had this in my stomach and I was like, I'm just very impulsive. And I was like, you know what? Maybe if I told him something that made him feel bad, I wouldn't feel as bad about quitting this godforsaken job. And so it was like a Thursday night. It was raining. I remember this. And I remember having to go in like the freezer and like poke my eyes, like kind of like this. Like I'm like kind of
like make yourself sad.
like kind of trying to make myself look grimier than I feel, and just like I kind of tilted my visor down. And I walked into his office and I said, "Can I please talk to you for a second?" And he said, "Yeah, sure." And he had this like really tiny cubicle type of space and a computer. It had like security cameras too. And I was like, what the hell is this anyway? So I go in and I tell him, I say, I don't even remember this guy's name, but the poor guy didn't even know how to handle the situation. I just looked at him, and the first thing that comes to my head, I didn't think this out either. I just was impulsive and I said, fuck it. I went into his office, and the first thing that came out of my mouth to him was, "Sir, I don't think I can continue this job anymore because my parents are getting a divorce." Okay. So
your parents are still happily married to this day.
Yeah. So I not only told a lie, but I told like a really sad fucking lie that like really was really fucked up because my parents loved going to Jason's Deli together.
Literally, Taylor's parents, let me put this in perspective. At the time, I think Jill and Tracy would eat at 2 restaurants, and that was Longhorn and Jason's Deli. Yeah, and that was it. And Taylor single-handedly ruined Jason's Deli for them. And they were like, cool, now we can only go to 1 restaurant together.
Yeah. And so the manager said, "Oh, wow, that's really weird because I saw your parents in here last week picking up an online order." And I said, "Yeah, they've been keeping it really cool because they've been together for a really long time. So this is probably easy for them." And so he's looking at me like, "Well, then how are you quitting over this if this is so easy?" And so once he said, "Okay, well, so you're telling me you don't want to work here anymore?" Like, it was kind of confusing. I think he was trying to see if I was just like confiding in him, or like about my parents' fake divorce, or if he was like, "Oh God, I have to hire another teenager all over again." So that night, after I told him, I sat down with Jordan at like one of the booths because she was on her break, and I was like, "Hey dude, I just told our manager that my parents got a divorce, so I have to quit." And she was like, "What?" Like,
she was like, "Why did you tell them that? Your parents come in here all the time."
Well, that, and it's like, why couldn't you just have some fucking balls and just tell them you don't want to work here?
Just quit.
Why did it didn't have to be such a sad lie. Like, I just don't understand.
Right. Like, you didn't have to say that. You could have just said, "I don't want to work here anymore," or just not showed up again. Like, you could have literally never showed up again, and it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah. Yep. And so I had to go home and tell my parents the sad news. And my dad was just a little concerned that I would think like I would say something like that, because he's like, "What?" He was like, "Well, he's really friendly. That manager, I see him all the time when I pick up my online order. Now he's going to think I'm like an adulterer." And I was like, no, I was like, I just really wanted to get out of this fucking job. And that was the first sad thing I could think of that like maybe could happen to me at that time.
And your dad was like, "Cool, I like made friends with that guy, and now I can't eat. I got to face your lie."
Yeah. Like, and now you still don't have a job anymore.
Now you're unemployed again.
Yeah. So I don't regret it. I took off my polo and I think I gave it to Jordan. I just hated that job, dude. Like, it was, but I stole.
He's really passionate.
Cookies. Yeah, I stole a lot of those cookies. Those like really good cookies that they had. Yeah,
they do have good. It was just really, at the time, it was just so funny because even at the time, I was like, I just feel like Taylor's being a little dramatic about this. Like, I think this could have been way easier.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's just like, why couldn't she stick it through like hard times? Like, I couldn't make it through being humiliated because of my order taking. I said, "I'm better than this. I'm out." And I told him my parents got a divorce. Like, it's just no need. It's just no need. Like, I never went there ever again either. I don't think I've had a Jason's Deli meal since that.
He was traumatized by it
that day. Yeah.
Which is so funny because after Taylor left, we switched to like this electronic order system with like a touch screen. So she would have just made it 2 more weeks. She wouldn't have had to memorize the stupid like shorthand, whatever.
Can we all just admit Jason's Deli is like a really sad place to eat? Like, it really is. Like, the food is like, it doesn't know what it wants to be. Like the food. And
yeah, it's a lot of variety.
It's too much. And then they have this like endless ice cream cone machine, but they promote like healthy living with the salad bar.
Oh, and then the little kids go up there and then they like pull and they make like they pull on the machine and they make a mess.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. The environment itself just kind of reminded me like of a Chuck E. Cheese deli. Like it was just really, it felt not good. Like it was just kind of gross. Like, couldn't we stick on one food? Maybe just spuds. Maybe just the spuds.
Like, yeah. So Jason's Deli, your parents get divorced. Well, they don't get divorced, but you make them alive that they get divorced. So you were kind of talking about like, so from there, you had a couple other like random jobs. So I know you talked about beauty brands, and I really just quickly want to talk about what happened at beauty brands.
Oh my gosh.
So tell me about working there. Like what was your job? Like, so you worked at beauty brands as like
I was like always like at these jobs, like across all these like random like corporate or not corporate, like chain restaurants or like establishments. It was like always like a receptionist or like the front desk person, like really helping customer service or like, you know, making sure people were being helped, or like the POS system, which was always a POS. And like, I was never good at money. So it's just, so beauty brands was like, I think it was like my last endeavor of a job in like high school. It wasn't bad. It was like, they paid a little bit more than like, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be cool because it's like girly and like all I have to do is wear all black. And there was something about these uniforms that like really resulted in like the outcome of the job. Like I always ended up quitting or getting fired from jobs that like had specific restrictions on their dress code. So at beauty brands, I worked there for a few months. It was kind of cool because I got to like test out all like the makeup and stuff. It just, I don't know. It was just different vibes, but the dress code was all black. And sometimes in Kansas City, it gets like fucking hot and like the devil's butthole hot. Like it's just really, really hot. And I worked in the summer and like, so the dress code was all black and I'm like, well, okay, this beauty brand is like all windows. So I'm just going to roast all day. Like I need to like wear short sleeves and like maybe just like some khaki or not khaki, some like black Bermudas. Like I'm just going to wear that. It was like a Saturday. So I went in and I did like half of my shift, and the like manager's manager, who I never talked to, she was like, Taylor, can I see you in my office, please? And I was like,
whoa, so intense. Like, why?
Yeah. And because the day before, like we got like credit for selling specific things or selling more specific things, like during the leader sale, like they were like, all right, 2 for 1, you get like a point for that. So there was like this like internal like way of like motivating the employees by like doing this point system. You got paid out. So I was like excited because when she called me in, I was like, oh yeah, it's because I sold like 30 liters yesterday. Like,
you thought it was a good thing. You were like, oh hell yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh cool. I'm like, yeah, let me go to the restroom really quick and I'll meet you there. So I go to the restroom and I go into her office and she's like, Taylor, what you're wearing is promiscuous. I had Bermuda shorts that went to my knees. Bermuda shorts that went to my knees.
It had to be like all black, like head to toe, like no skin showing.
Yeah, but it was never clarified that I would be a slut for wearing Bermudas.
Those are sexy, Taylor. Those are sexy.
I mean, she could have like got like so many of those girls could have gotten rocked in there. Like I saw some tramp stamps. Like there were stylists that like would bend over and like their ass cheeks were hanging out. And
but you got in trouble for your Bermudas.
Yep. For my another horrible like uniform. But like I was burning up. I was having swamp ass selling like products to people. I needed to take care of myself. So she basically called me promiscuous. And I broke down in tears and I said, I'm calling my dad. I'm out of here. And I went home and I told my dad another just tragic ending to another one of these jobs. And I think that guy, like my poor daddy, probably was like, she is never going to be able to find.
She's never going to be able to keep a job. God damn.
he's worried about my career path, and I'm like having a breakdown because of my Bermuda short choice. But just all these people are such bitches. Like, just be happy I'm showing up, and like, don't call me a slut for wearing Bermuda shorts. Maybe like
back off. Maybe back off about the shorts.
Yeah, Jesus age,
dude.
Yeah.
So you got fired over wearing the Bermuda shorts.
Well, let's not go that far. I mean, I stood my ground. I was kind of proud of myself. I was like, wait, this wasn't in the employee handbook.
Good for you.
But after I got fired, me and my dad were looking online, and it was in the employee handbook. So I had no ground to stand on, and I just called that one an L. I remember my dad was like, "You should apologize so you could get that job back." And I said, I would rather lick like a gas station toilet than go back to that place again. He's like, "Why are you so extreme? Like, just keep a job. Just please keep a job."
He's like, "Can you just show up, Taylor? Just show up and shut up, you know?"
No.
No. Like, fuck no. Go fuck yourself.
Beauty brands, fuck off.
None of these women who worked at beauty brands were beautiful. They were all ugly and mean.
Inside and out, not beautiful.
No, they all smelled like cigarettes, and they were all mean.
No, that is so funny. It's just like, I mean, I don't understand. Like, it's just like people are just here to get their hair done and buy their shampoo and leave. And like, I don't know why you can't wear Bermuda shorts. You know, I just think it's ridiculous.
I can't. People came in and asked me, like, you know, like, what type of foundation should I try? And I would be like, I don't know, but here, this one looks good. And they would just like start squirting and using like all these products, and then they just like leave them everywhere. And I would just be like, what? What am I supposed to do with all this junk?
Yeah, you're like what?
Yeah, people are just people.
Oh my God. Well, I know you have one more story. You talked about when you were leasing apartments, but I worried this is going to run out of time. So
yeah. Okay. So the apartments, I think like I worked at like the leasing apartments. I think so I'm talking to Jessica tonight. Jessica's Jordan's aunt, who Jordan like helped me get a lot of fucking jobs. Like, this was a job. Okay. So, and this one kind of is good about the apartment complex because I interviewed Jessica, Jordan's aunt, really wanted me to get that job, and I failed my drug test twice to get that job. So like I had to pee in a cup. I had to pee in a cup twice, like once, and then like they were like, "Yeah, you tested positive for marijuana. Have you smoked?"
That's crazy.
Yeah, and so so twice I had to pee in a cup, and I remember the second time I failed, my dad's like, "What are you doing with your fucking life?"
Oh my God.
But like, I think it needs its full own episode because there are some fucked up shit. Like, when you work at that type of place where people live, like, there was just so many weird stories. Like, people.
Oh, dude, I fully imagine. Like, I fully imagine. It's all.
Should we save it for when your Wish microphone is working?
I want to save it and do an in-person one if we can all be together, because like
we can drink wine.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed our interview with Taylor as much as we did. I think she's already committed to coming back for more, and she didn't want to give up all of her stories because I think there's more to come. So expect her back.
I'm really excited to hear her apartment building stories from when she worked at a place
they're
like
funny.
That, so
they're funny. Yeah. Like, she leased apartments. And I think with that, there's so many stories because there's weird renters, there's other weird people that work there. And it's just kind of one of those jobs that like, you literally do not know what to expect, like on a daily basis. So no, I think we'll definitely have her back, and expect more guests. I think we have more guests planned, and keep an eye out and keep listening. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Bye.
Was that it? Okay. Bye.
I think it's fine.
Okay. Sweet.
Beautiful, glorious, magical.
Beautiful and glorious. All right. Stop recording.